I feel very honoured to be here. Everyone is so lovely. Everyone in Grand Rapids particularly, they want to feed us, which is great. Everyone wants to invite us in for homemade food and cookies and pie and things like that. You guys are just amazing. But enough about the food. I specialise in media runway, fashion runway, media activations, television, film, that type of floristry. The way that I entered the film was a completely different sort of avenue to you guys. So well, not you guys. I don't know what each and every one of you do. So I'm not, particularly pointing at you. Well, I know you are fabulous, and you live here on the hand. Everyone does this. I live here, or I live here. And then everyone's like, I'm a Youper. And I thought it was an Uber, but no, it's a Youper. It's on the hand. Everyone tells you where they live. But yes, I've completely distracted myself. But yes, so I am a floral designer. I do have 25 years, 25. The bio was probably written 5 years ago when I was a little bit younger. But 25 years in the industry. I was a florist for about 16 years. I worked in a shop. I was a wedding and event specialist. Then I became very sick. I had got this thing that's called chemical hypersensitivity, where you become allergic to the modern world. So I became a bubble girl, like actually, literally. So I couldn't go out of the house for 2 years. I know, your face is dry. Yes, so I could not go out of the house for 2 years. My partner was constantly, his name's Rod, he's here somewhere, I'll call him up soon. He constantly thought I was going to die because it caused me to have anaphylaxis and throat swelling and everything like that. But instead of just being unwell, I studied and I became a trainer and a teacher, and I worked my way back into floristry through that avenue. I taught at a college in Australia, and I used to ring all of my students personally. I taught in the science lab because it's a sterile environment, and then it was much better for my allergies. I'd ring all my students personally and tell them, look, if you wear perfume or wash your clothes or your hair before you come in, then I could possibly die, and then you'll be responsible for my death. So, so please do not do that. And it just evolved that way. And then I think working with students was amazing. It was so inspirational because they're either people who are new to the industry or women who have a lot of experience, but they want to learn more. So they're so enthusiastic, and it's just fantastic. So that was very inspirational. And because I had been sick, my viewpoint had changed. So instead of wanting to have a job to earn money to be adult, I didn't really care about being adult anymore. I just wanted to live life because I'd been sick, and life was just this, whole big shining thing that was just so fragile. So then I just started creating for the sake of creation. And they say people can see passion, and people kept saying that, but they can. They can see when you make something and you love what you do, then people can actually see that. They connect with it. Some of my pieces, as you can see up here, so I've done the beard. This is for festivals. There's just so many. Australian rock star florists, flower bombs, magazine covers. This is actually for that big flower. It's actually called the Golden Shower. So that's our Aztec princess, not our Golden Shower princess, because that would be unusual. But yes, so people do connect with passion, and so the way what I found with my students, as you're learning, or if you're a florist who has a job and you have to do floristy stuff, and then sometimes that's not as inspiring as you want it to be. So I sort of found an avenue where I could take florists and hopefully inspire them, because I take joy, from seeing people get joy. So I started doing the flower gowns just for the sake of it, just because I wanted to see it come to life. And I started doing flower bombs. So there was one instance where we actually that's my goose. His name is Lewis, and he's a rescue goose. I'm so easily distracted. No. But Yes, so there was one instance where we did a 2-story structure in the middle of the city. I do volunteer call out. So for this instance, there was 40 women, and so they can be florists, flower lovers, garden lovers, like students of all different skill levels, and everyone works fantastically together because you have your florists who have the skills, you have your flower lovers who are so happy just to touch flowers where they will just clean the flowers. They don't even care, and the florists love that because then they get to do all the design work. And we had big spotlights and cranes, and we bombed like this big 2-story structure. People walking to work and they just start crying because they're just like, it's a magnificent, it reminds me of my grandmother's garden, or it's so unexpected. And then I had a girl and I popped her in the garden. We did like a big floral gown on her, and imagine your surprise if you're just walking through the street and there's a girl in the garden with one of these on, very unexpected. So this is the way that I entered, like, back into floristry. So it was through, so as opposed to doing these demonstrations, I entered through fashion runways and media events and media activations and television sets and films and that sort of thing. Your woven pieces. So when I create the pieces, I use the colour of the skin, as a palette, and I work with the flowers as a medium. So yes, you can see here, like this was the bomb, the big colourful one here. This girl here, we had her, and it was at the World Flower Council, which is amazing because they have sponsored me to be here, and Lynn Hoffman is an amazing man, and he has sponsored me to be here today, along with Alexandra Roses and our Kennedy's florists. So thank you so much, guys. But it was at the World Flower Summit in Australia, and everyone was like you guys, like florists and designers as such. So what we actually did, Rod, he built a rolling stage, and we rolled her out onto the street, and the buses were zooming past, and people were like in their suits, and then we had the big gown just out in the middle of the streets, which was, a surprise for all. But yes, so that is me. And that is what I do, and I do tend to waffle a little bit. I am an artist. I get a little bit excited and carry on. But what I will do, I did workshops the other day, and we had 15 girls who came through to the workshops, and they were wearable workshops, and the ladies were magnificent. It was the first time. When I teach the workshops, as opposed to if you have a general workshop where you say, well, this is your ingredients and I will do this and please repeat, like what I'm doing. The way that I work is, it is art, here are your ingredients, this is your paint, and then I give them all of the techniques that they need to achieve that. So the first time they make the piece, it is not their most magnificent piece. They're learning and fumbling and everything, but then they can go home with that knowledge and they can repeat it and expand on it and make it their own. So we have these ladies here, and their pieces are gorgeous, but they are their first pieces. And I'm sure that their second pieces will be much more magnificent than their first pieces. So I would like to bring them all up. They did help me to base the greenery on this gown. So as a thank you to them, I'd like to bring them up, and you can see their little pieces that they made in the workshop. I think they're all standing out the back. Oh, here they come. Oh, how cute. Here we go. So everyone had exactly the same sort of ingredients to start with. They all had the same mechanics and the same bases. So I'll get you to come through. We have Christy here, who did not want to come up onto the stage. But she is here. How gorgeous. So she has a very classic, you can tell people's like design skills from the style of what they do. Very classical, very beautiful little bonnet. And then we have Eva. Oh yes, you can exit on this way. There's one on either side. And we have Eva, look a little bit more exuberant. A little bit of a warrior woman here. Beautiful. Thank you, Eva. Oh, then we have Snugglepot, because your name tag is hidden, so you can be our little Snugglepot. Oh, Amanda. Amanda, that's magnificent. You've got all the bark through there. It's just beautiful. Just beautiful. Thank you. We have Kendra. Look at this, it's gorgeous. I love it. Oh, absolute pleasure. Oh, we have Sherry. Yeah, so Sherry went all out, didn't she? She went like power woman. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And then last but not least, we have Anne, or Sugar Pot. Turn around, darling, show them. See, she's got her little balls in there. Beautiful. And Anne did win an award last night for a competition, so congratulations on that. She wasn't actually here to collect it, so now she's on the stage and she gets the kudos. Amazing. So that is it. Now I'm going to complete this piece, and as I said, so thank you to Lynn Hoffman. He's a magnificent man, and he has given me the opportunity to come here and create for you lovely people. So today we have a gown, a floral gown, obviously, and we have your shoulder shrug. With the pieces that I create, everyone always asks what it is that I use to create them. They're always so different. It depends. So if you have a piece like this, as you can see, it's stationary. We have we have Rod. Where's Rod? He's my partner. He's hiding. Oh, wait a minute. Here he comes. This is Rod. He builds all the sub-fabrications. He builds anything and everything. So I did a big festival in Australia, and it was the Main Beach Flower Festival, and I wanted to build a big, massive, immersive room. And so I came home and I said to Rod, I'm going to do this big immersive room. It's going to be great. What I want you to do is build a room so we can put it inside of a room, so then we can sort of destroy that room, if that makes sense. So he just does it, and he does it with a smile. He's just fantastic. So I drag him around, and he's a bloke. He's a bloke, and he's a builder, and so now he works with flowers. Initially he struggled, but he's great now. He loves it. And all the ladies fuss over him, and some of the gentlemen too. Thank you very much. You can exit the stage. Just as a thing. Yay! Yeah, we love Rod. He's good. The structures on the pieces are all completely different. So this piece, obviously, it doesn't have to move. We have like a large wire metal cage underneath, and then we've covered that in chicken wire, and then we have a big belt that we've attached it at the waist. The ladies the other day, you work the same as, it's like a combination of floristry and like fashion and art, would you say? So the way that you work is we do the base as you would do in a general design, and then we go through and we texturize. So we just keep going. So when the ladies were working the other day, they work in single pieces of greenery or single flowers, whereas when you have such a large and big design, you have to work in bunches just to get a really big fat movement, a really nice texture. We wire them on, and it depends on when it's going on stage. So obviously this was like today now, but if it's alive, if it has to last a week, then we have to put like all water vials and make sure everything has water sources and things like that. So, but this piece here, these were all wired on. The greenery was prepared 2 days ago. Then yesterday afternoon we went through and texturized that a little bit more. This morning we put a lot of these Alexandra roses in water vials, like in there, and then this afternoon we just continued to put layers through, like of the roses without the water vials, because essentially it's just for this performance. And then tomorrow we have a model, makeup artist, like film and photographer, we're going to put a live model in this, but she's not going to move much. She's going to stand there. If it has to move, there's a completely different element that goes into the design, because if you had something like this and models pop their hips, then your flowers sort of go flinging around. And the first model that I actually had, she the weight of the belt actually gave her like cuts and bruises, and she just sucked it up, and she was fantastic, you know. She was so good. Yes, so just completely different pieces, like completely different structures for different designs in that sense. Your little shrugs, like they're quite easy. Like here we didn't have a head, so I made this head because it was the least sort of scary head I think that I could come up with. We have like these shoulder pads, so the shoulder pads, I have made so many of these, and I've made these like whilst having emotional breakdowns. Do you know how you do? Like I had like makeup artists and photographers and models and the whole thing there, and they said, we want a big set of shoulder pads, and they will, oh, they're not up there, that's me. But you'll see the shoulder pads come through. And then I said, well, how long before you need them? And they said 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I can do it in 15. They go, no, the sun goes down in 15 minutes. So we need them in 10. So I'm sitting there making the shoulder pads, and the makeup artist is fixing her hair, and I'm breathing deep. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it. And they're like, you can do it. Just like saying, and then I'm like, no, I just can't do it. It's not going to happen. And it happened, and it was amazing. And it has been on billboards, and it has been in magazines. It's been used in so many art features. The piece that I had the emotional breakdown to. So that was fantastic. So these pieces are really easy, and I think that anyone could make these pieces, like quite simply once you know the trick. This one here, we just used one of the towels from the lady out the back to sort of cover our frameworks here because we have the head. It just has a chicken wire base. I will show you. So these are, where are we? So it's something like this here. So I have a little tiny piece of, is there a camera? Yes. So I have a little tiny piece of chicken wire frame here. I've just threaded greenery on both sides, and I have some zip ties. So obviously this is just for a piece that's not like not something that's going to last, but you could build your base and then you could add your flowers in right before game time. This is just like, so this is just a general base, and then you go through and you texturize with your flowers and your green. I'm huge on green. I love like that organic sort of really rustly textury look, because then you only have to dot a couple of flowers in it and it looks magnificent. Like you can see here, there's only 3 or 4 flowers in it, and it just, well, I think it looks gorgeous, but it's my baby. So, and so something like this, a little piece of chicken wire just in the middle, and then you keep threading your greenery up and through, and then you would thread some flowers through. You just catch it all with zip ties. Once you get to then you'll have like this big sort of mess. You can either use a towel and cover it. Depends on the hairstyle, do you know, that your model's going to have, or you could bring something like your asparagus fern and bring it back and over and cover all of your works here, or some bark or something like that as well, just to cover your works. So a little pair of shoulder pads, really quite simple. I've had ones where they have been quite heavy, so we've done big chest plates, you know, with your floristry wire at the front. Or we had a lady, she had a magnificent afro, so we did like a big sort of astronaut cage, like with the floristry wire that went around it to accentuate that, because obviously if you just had your shoulder pads, the afro was going to be the show stealer. So that is that one there. So with the gown, I have just done this as a front-facing gown, so all the money is at the front, and these roses are so delicious. They're so good. I have wasted so much time smelling them. Do you know how you're just like, yes, and then one smell for me and one for that, but just so amazing. I feel so honoured to work with them. So again, the way that I work with the designs, we popped all of our greenery in, got a nice texture, a nice movement, like you can see which way that you want the design to go. So I wanted something a little bit fatter on this side and a little bit greener on the other side. And then we go through, we put our base layer of roses and then come through and just like, so the last layer that you put in, basically you're just sort of, just like putting, yes, there we go. Imagine if I couldn't get it in, that would be fantastic. Yeah, so you're just sort of sliding that last layer through. If it was like on a live or a roaming model, how you have your chicken wire, I just weave back and forward throughout the chicken wire and then attach it with zip ties. So you just have that really solid movement. So I always say about all of my pieces, when they're hitting the runway or when they're in a media activation, that you could take that piece and throw it at the wall and it's not going to fall apart. But I hope they don't do that, but that's what I do tell them. So we're going to extend this gown through. I have some beautiful asparagus here, simply because this is just for photo purposes only. I was going to extend it out like on both sides, just because it is through the front. If it was going to be, I should have thought about this bending down on my little belly after all this food. It's not going to be that flattering for you guys. I can feel it squishing, and I've got this, I'm going to blame the pack, it's so bad. Yes, and I've got my sneakers on, and I think, I was going to wear my fancy shoes, and I think everyone here, when you're working, there's a difference. You can't be fancy. I'm fancy up here, but please don't look at the shoes. It's for comfort, isn't it? You've been working the hard yards, and we know something like this would probably take, if I did not have the assistance of all of my fabulous students, something like this would probably take about 20 hours to build, 24 hours to build, just with the layers that are involved in it. And usually when you build something like this, it's when they want you to stand up and talk about it after building for 20 hours. So you have to stand up there and pretend you know how to speak properly. My brain's gone, I have sneakers on, no longer, but this is the level we're at. I think we've all been there after a big design. So this one, because it is for media, when I go back to Australia, I'll be doing a piece like this on the streets. I have one piece when I get back, which is for Opera Australia, and we will actually be doing 2 sets of shoulder pads for 2 of Australia's finest female opera singers, and then they'll perform the flower duet, in the pieces, for the press. So that will be amazing. And then I have a piece like this that I'm actually doing for the Australian Wearable Arts Festival. Again, it will just be a stationary piece, but we will have a live girl in it. So when you're building a stationary piece, then you don't have to worry about the movement. We need to give you a little microphone there, Lynn, so you can come up and speak about the World Flower Council. The World Flower Council is an amazing organisation who has sponsored me to come out here and given me many opportunities. I was able to be on the runways in Bali and in Japan, thanks to them, and meet some absolutely fantastic designers. These guys, they support the artists, they support the ground roots, the designers, they inspire them, they find new talent, and they have been so lovely to me, and I am so grateful. Was that a bit over the top? Do you think that was a bit over the top? Does other people do that or just casually mention? No, I am so thankful. And they do put on some amazing shows. Here we go. So I know I'm just layering the bottom bits, and I feel like this is a little bit cheeky because you probably go, she's just putting flowers on the ground. It's not that fantastic. But there is a lot of work in there, and I know that you can appreciate all the work that I actually have done previously. We're just doing a little extension because I thought, well, if I come out here with it complete, and then I just stand here and I say, well, my name's Julie Rose, I build flower gowns, and I like chickens, and now I have 57 minutes left. So this way, I thought I could put a little bit of zhuzh on the ground. I was also going to finish the headpiece while I was up here. This piece here, you can't see my pieces. When you see my pieces, and I think everyone has like little flyers there as well, usually when I build the headpieces, this one is in Oasis, and it's because we didn't have a head. So usually what I would do, as opposed to building an Oasis, I'm huge on wiring. I love wiring. So I would completely wire the piece and then make a structure. Like we had one piece that I made for, they have this show, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Do you guys have that, or no, you don't have it? It's what they do. They put these celebrities in these situations where they basically torture them, do you know? And then they're supposed to scream, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And if they don't, then they can win a prize at the end, do you know? And then I'm going to take this earring off because is that better? It keeps tapping. Yes. So, and then at the end they get to, like, they get a crown. If they win, plus like $100,000. But so I do the crowns for the German one and the English one. And we built like a large crown for the German one. I had chicken wire, like a fully wired piece, this really large, very over the top piece. And it was dinting the front of the head, so we had to, there was a mattress in the corner where like costume and makeup have naps in between long hours, so I took like a little knife and carved some of the foam off it, put the foam in the front of the piece, so then, because if it's a model they won't complain about that, but if it's a celebrity they will. I will not wear that piece because the crown. And so then we put the foam in it and I completely covered it, and then it's a live thing, so they go, congratulations, you are the winner, like out of the two, and they cry and everything, and then they pan away for 3 seconds, they drop the crown on their head, and then they pan back, and this big huge crown, they put it on upside down. Like the foam didn't even need to go in there, the girl's just sitting there, the crown's like all over her face. But so it just, like, usually I would not like use foam off a mattress on the floor, but usually I would not design in Oasis either. I would do like a fully wired piece, and I structure it to the head and the design that we need. But for this instance, I thought I would just create a little something. So with this design, what I actually did, we have such an abundance of delicious roses down here, and then we have the black here. I wanted to make sure like that this was just purely green, so then we had that definitive like negative space, so you still have those aspects of floristry obviously in there. The definitive negative space, because if the roses came all the way down, like in imagery, it's just going to be like one big mass and one big blur. So the same with the head, I'm going to make everything go up on the headpiece, so then you've got that definitive like negative space between the neck and the shoulder pads, so it doesn't look like one piece. And this piece, as I said, tomorrow we have like a makeup artist, photographer, like film crew, and we will be taking like a professional. I'm going to take that little piece of Oasis, make a little cage, and we're staying at Amway, so I'll just cut a little tiny corner out of the mattress. Make a little cage, and I'll make a piece that will go, like, this will be turned into a piece that sits on her head somehow. We did one in Japan, and that was actually with the World Flower Council as well. And so we did a demonstration on stage. I've lost my little secateurs here. We did a demonstration on stage, and you know, it was fantastic, and we had the flowers, and it was a beautiful grower like the Alexandra Roses who had sponsored the flowers, and they were so, and I think these little darlings have put so much energy into growing, and then they're just up here for, you know, just but a moment, and then we sort of throw them all away. So I took them with me back to my little Japanese hotel, and I put them all in a big suitcase, and I don't know if anyone has been to Japan, but Japan has like lots of underground subways, and this is where Rod comes in handy. I hooked up with a photographer, a model and makeup artist that I did not know. So my parents said, "What are you doing when you're in Japan, Julie?" I said, "Well, I'm meeting a photographer." She said, "Just to meet her in the, in the jungle somewhere." And she's like, do you know this lady? I'm like, no, it'll be fine. So I'm just like with my suitcase full of flowers, meeting these random people that I've never met in a foreign country, in a location of their choice. Do you know? As you do. And my parents like, just text us when you get there. And I like freaking them out a little bit, But, and so Rod, who was a little bit hungover, had to, they have all the subways, so they don't have elevators or escalators in Japan. They just have stairs, and everything is underground. And it was like a 40-minute journey through 3 or 4 subways, dragging a cart full of like a big suitcase full of flowers. I think it was probably exactly what you want to do when you're hungover, isn't it? Do you know? It's exactly what you sort of think. Oh, what am I going to do today? Drag flowers through the subway in Japan and meet people I don't know. And then we turned up in the park of Japan, and it was like not a murderous park, which was like fantastic. That's always a bonus. And then flipped open the people's faces when I turned up just with the suitcase and flipped it open. There was all these flowers there. They were, a little bit shocked. The photographer shot for Vogue, and the model was like on Japanese magazines and covers, and the makeup artist did the makeup for the stars and everything. So I flipped my suitcase. I'm like all sweating because I've been going up and down, and they're thinking, oh, sugar pop, this girl's not going to do us very good at all. But we did like a magnificent gown, big headpiece, big shawl. We actually repurposed all the flowers so they got a second life. And it is illegal to do a photo shoot on the streets of Japan. I don't know if anyone knows that. I did not know that until I did the photo shoot on the streets of Japan. So the gentleman was standing there, we took all of her clothes off, had a little wrap on, a little undergarment, slipped her into the floral gown, and there was massive urban, Japan's like a big pinball machine. It's just magnificent with all these buildings and lots of colours. So there's crazy going on around everywhere, but everyone's so polite. And there was a little tiny strip of garden, and we popped her in the little tiny strip of garden, and we took our photos, and I sort of fought off the spider webs for her and, made sure it was all right. And this gentleman come up, he's yelling at us, this is illegal. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. This is the World Flower Council. This wasn't part of that. But this was with the flowers that we had from that. And so the photographer managed to catch a few shots. And then those shots actually went on to win a number 1 photography prize in Japan, which was great. I know. So I did avoid, being murdered in the bush. But it was magnificent. And the piece you on the slideshow that rolls through, you'll see the piece on there. It's a lady sitting in it looks like she's actually sitting in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of nowhere. But we were surrounded by that beautiful Japanese chaos of a city. So tomorrow, again, Kennedy's florist, who we did some workshops at. We did some koala making workshops. We raised some funds for I don't know if you heard of the bushfires over there in Australia. We live on a farm, and we were affected by the bushfires for 6 weeks. We had all of our little baby, we have many rescue animals. And we had we had the trucks packed up, and we had all their cages. Do you have wheelie bins here? Or they're like big garbage bins, that you pop onto the curb. We had the wheelie bins. I took all the shelves out of my florist fridge, and we had the wheelie bins on their side with all the florist shelves like up against them, just prepared in case the fires actually came to us to get everyone out of there. And we had that like that for 6 weeks, and the fires were looming. At one stage, they were probably like less than 1 kilometre away. I'm not sure how much that is in miles, but it was very close. You could see the flames. So I think doing that at Kennedy's, I loved that because we raised money for all the animals that were affected by the bushfires. And then, yes. Yes. And then after that, we went straight into floods. And we had, we went straight into floods, as you do. Australia is wild. But, and we had, I think it was, see, you guys don't speak in metres, do you? So we had 5 metres, which would be, is there 3 foot in a metre? So that is 5 times 3. It's 15? No, 25. Much water, many big waters. That's it. I don't speak American. No. Will that work here? Sorry, I don't understand. I don't speak American. Oh, look, I just gave her like a peacock thing. But here we go. Yes, so the girls from Kennedy's, they were saying, because I said, I've organised a photo shoot. I've organised, a makeup artist and a model, and they're going, when is it, and what time is it, and what location is it? And I said, well, it's on Monday. I don't know the time. I don't know the location. But and then I think about 5:30 this morning, I messaged them and I found out the location. So I don't know where it is, but I'll put in the nav man. But we will be doing a shoot with this. And so if you follow us on social media, then you'll be able to see how this piece transforms onto a girl, because I'll have to make some adjustments through. I feel like if I put this on a girl, it's going to be very disconnected to her body with the way that it actually is. So it will change. So if you follow us on social media in a couple of weeks, you'll be able to see it again in another sort of way. Oh, these roses are so delicious. These are, they're called Darcy roses, and they smell so divine. Yes, and they've opened up beautifully. We bought them through the other day and undid all the packets so we could blow them. I'm a huge fan of roses. Wait. Okay, the week before I came here, I received an email from Chelsea Flower Show. I know, right? To say they didn't want me. No. No, to say, invite me to do a big display at Chelsea Flower Show. I know, right? Oh my God, I cannot believe it. We're so excited. And Lynn, we're looking for sponsorship. I haven't asked you, but I thought this was the best place to ask you. No, but yes, they've offered us a large 2.5 metre space, and we're going to do, because I live on a farm and you seen my goose before. I got really excited. He's a rescue goose. We have all the little baby animals. We're going to do. And then we work like in the media and runway and on that sort of glitter strip and everything. We're going to do a combination of subtle wildflowers, like with the big luxurious sort of gowns, like set like on a field of wildflowers. And then they have actually invited me to do a demonstration there, and it's the first year that they've ever had demonstrations at the Chelsea Flower Show. I know. Yay! So I have to practice my curtsy. I feel like you do. Yeah, I know. And I am such a kook. I like trip over. I think yesterday at my workshop, Laurie introduced me, and I stood up and tripped over something behind the table. So I can imagine like the Queen is there and I'm just falling over. Okay. So as I said, I am like a huge fan of, I love grouping and clustering like the flowers. I love that, like the decadent sort of opulent. Like, and I don't think it necessarily, like these roses, like they are so divine, but like it can just be greenery. It can be greenery, and I collect a lot of things from my farm as well. I do like mentoring with the Indigenous in Australia, up the top of Australia. I do a lot of volunteer work, and I go up and we do runway stuff up there, and I collect like a lot of vines, and we weave them and knot them. And one of my I have pieces that actually went into an art gallery, and it's called the Rosei Capilla Collection, because we have, Rosei Capilla means galah, and we had a little galah which fell out of a tree. I don't know if you know what a galah is, like a cockatoo. It's like a parrot, and we had this little galah, and it fell in love with Rod, and I call Rod Buffy. He'll hate that. Where is he? He died. I call him Buffy, and so this little galah was like, "I love you, Buffy." Like, oh, so cute. And then we had the galah fell out of the tree. And I spent 2.5 hours, like actually putting the galah on top of the car in a little cage and guiding its parents back to our farm, so it knew where it was. I know, I'm like cray-cray. And then and then every morning at sunrise, they would come. We just left her outside, not in a cage or anything, and they would feed her. It was so cute. And then at night time they'd take off, and then we'd put her back inside, and we did this for like a certain amount of weeks, and they were teaching her to fly, and a butcher bird actually pecked her in the throat. Oh, I know, right? And so then we had to send her off to the animal sanctuary. So we'd had her for about 4 or 5 weeks at this time, and she was just about ready to fly. And the butcher bird pecked her in the throat. So we sent her off, and then they fixed her, which is great. And then she came back, and she cried when she seen us, because she thought that we were her mum and dad. And then her parents like came back, and so we said, "Go, be free." And we have a dog door. So we like set her out on the balcony, and she'd go around and come back in the dog door. And she'd be like, "I love you, Buffy." Oh, it was too cute. So we had her for quite some years, and then she did pass away, which was very sad. So when she passed away, she was, like her name was Possum, and she was, like it was really sad. She was like part of the family, because she spoke and everything, even though she hated me. Like if she was wanting to mate, and I'd walk down the hallway, she would just like assault me because I'd be coming near him. She's like, "Don't you go near him, I will kill you." Do you know, like she was bad, and they have like those big beaks, and she was just like savage, you know, just, oh, it was terrible. And Rod goes, it's just because she loves me. It was okay for him because he wasn't the one being assaulted. But the rest of the time, she was adorable, apart from then. But when she passed away, I couldn't bear to do anything, because I'm like a little bit eccentric, and a little bit, you know, like that sort of artist, you know, eccentric. Like if I work all the time, I will come home and Rod will have a nest made, and I'll be like, you know, after you do big 20-hour days back to back and everything, I'll come home and like pass out dramatically in the little nest and watch so I do love to be a little bit dramatic. It's fabulous. I have all my chickens, and I put flower crowns on them, and the dogs and everything. So the parrot passed away, and my heart was broken, and so I collected all this debris from the yard, and I did all these big woven pieces and chess pieces, and I collected all feathers from the yard as well, from our guinea fowl and our rescue chickens and everything, and I called the piece Rosei Capilla, like, which means galah. So it was in ode to Possum, and as I made the pieces, I was sitting there, I was like crying. It's so bad. And I had music playing, and you know how you're like bleeding into the piece. You're like, this, like, you know, like that sort of like, this is in memory of you, Possum. And then I made it, and I had a really clear vision on what I wanted to do. And then I actually we photographed it because it was inside of my head what it was supposed to be before as a memory to Possum. And then those pieces actually went in art galleries. And the magazines went like in all magazines. It was unbelievable. So yes. So I do, that the point being, I do like to use organic matter, and you can make masterpieces out of things like these roses are absolutely stunning, but do you know, I think like that was just from debris that was collected around my farm and a broken heart. All you need to do is go out and choke a galah, and then you'll find your inspiration. Yes. So this is it. I'm not sure how I'm going with time. Less than 20 minutes. Oh, that's okay. That's not that bad. Okay. So, do people be quiet when they're up here? Do they just build and people watch? Is that what they do? Oh, okay. I feel like that'd be creepy. I'd be like up here going, these are all like this, peering at me. No. But I'll just complete the piece then. I'll complete it in silence. I shan't tell any stories of my possum my galah assaulting me and rescues and everything like that. Can you hear me breathing in the microphone? My students. They've already been up here. Did you miss that? Oh my God, is that why you're prompting me? Oh, you're thinking that I haven't. No, I've done stuff. I'm just going to sit down on the floor. I'm over with. People got to come around. We're going, no, I've done that. I've done that. I said how much I love Lynn many times. I told them about the koala, like building the koalas. Were you here for that? Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's Holly, and she's from Kennedy. She's trying to make it all about her at the moment. Do you know? No, she's from Kennedy's Florist, and the ladies at Kennedy's, we're staying out with Laurie and Jack, who are just like magnificent. They're just so lovely, and they have a house like out in the bush, and it has snow. It has snow, and it has squirrels, and can I tell the chipmunk story? I've been told I'm not allowed to tell the chipmunk story. Lynn, can I tell the chipmunk story? They took me to they took us to the botanical gardens. Is it John Frederick Myers? So we went out to the botanical gardens, and we've never seen chipmunks before. And Rod's walking along, and he said, "Oh, I think." He goes, "There's little chipmunks. They're so cute." And these little chipmunks came out, and they were having sex. And we were filming them. We're like, "Oh my God, they're so cute." So yeah, it was really weird because they were doing it for quite some time, and we're just like following them with the camera. So I did tell that story in my class the other day. So when we went to take a photo at the end of the session, I went to say, "Everybody say cheese." And one of the girls, I said, "Everybody say," and one of the girls yelled out, "Chipmunks." But I was on strict orders not to speak about the chipmunk sexual activity. And I couldn't help it because honestly, it was so cute. I put it on Facebook, but I didn't say what they were doing, and and everyone in Australia, like my mum and my auntie and everything like that, they're like, "Oh, look at the little chipmunks, they're so cute." They're like piggybacking each other. It's so cute. I don't want to tell them because my mum will be traumatised, especially when she's put comments up there. I'll have to tell her at home. She won't be surprised. Yes. Okay. Under the hemlock, that's it. Well, they did. It was a hemlock tree. So the other day when we were putting these little guys, I'm going to warp your mind. So see these little things? They are no longer hemlock. They are chipmunk mistletoe. This is what they are. Because apparently the chipmunks do like to have intimate affairs underneath them. Goodness me. But yeah, the gardens were beautiful. You had all the butterflies and the structures. But yes, we're out at Laurie's and Jack's, which is just beautiful out there. You guys, we don't, because where we come from, it is very tropical. I am from, I don't know if anyone knows Australia, but we are up on the Gold Coast. We live near Chris Hemsworth. So everyone knows Chris Hemsworth. Yes, so we're not right next to him, but we're sort of in the same area where we can claim that that's where we live. And so there's Brisbane, which everyone sort of knows. Brisbane is, you've got Sydney, and Brisbane is like maybe 1,200 kilometres from there. And then there's a place called the Gold Coast, and that's where everyone like surfs and where they have tans and they have fake bosoms. Look at me, I'm like a naughty child saying this sort of stuff. Lynn's not paying attention. Do you know, like, and it's very much like that. And that's where we grew up. And then we're down in a place called Byron Bay, which is very organic and very natural. And that's where all your sort of hippies are. So we are down there on a little farm, and we have many, many rescue chickens. Like we have a goose named Lewis, He's quite famous in Australia. He's been on many magazine covers because he has his big crowns. He's such a darling. Rod, or Buffy, as we like to call him, he went to work one day. I'd just come back from doing all these demonstrations, and he came back and he tapped on the window and he's like, "There's something out in the aviary for you. Pop out and see what it is." And I went out and there was a goose out there and he was covered in blood, the poor little deer. And he had like a big busted wing, and he had found him on the side of the road. Someone had dumped him in, had been assaulted by wild dogs. So I had no idea. I'm not sure if you guys know how big a goose is, but it's like quite big, and they have like geesey teeth. And geesey teeth, they do, like it's shardy sort of things. And so I sat there with no idea how to look after a goose. I sat there and I Googled how to look after a goose, and I sat on my little milking stool. We don't have cows that we milk, but I have milking stools because I'm a florist, and I like getting close to the ground after big days, And so I'm sitting and I'm looking at the Google, and I'm like, how to look after a goose. I'm like, I will be the looker after her and you will be the goose. And then I read to him for half an hour on how to look after a goose. And by that, and then to start with, he was a little bit angry. He was looking at me like, "I'm going to kill you with my goosey teeth." He was. He looked a little bit savage because he was covered in blood. And then at the end, after I'd finished reading how to look after a goose for a certain amount of time, he was looking at me like, either he loved me or he was highly confused and he couldn't be bothered anymore because he thought I was a fool. Do you know? And then I went in and I bathed him, and then we didn't know what to do with him, and now he lives with us, and he's lived with us for a certain amount of time, so he's a darling boy. And Lewis has many grand chickens, and the grand chickens are on the farm. We have Rod had said to me, I said to Rod, actually, "How many chickens can I have?" And he said 0. So I came home with 3. So 0 equals 3, doesn't it? We all know that. Yes. And then at one stage we had 70. But now we're back to about 10. So these roses, we have a collection of your Darcy roses. You've got your sunset roses in here. I love this colour palette. You've got sunset, you have your Darcy. We have the bridal piano. I'm not sure how you use the bridal piano, but they come through like this. They're just like little tiny balls. Here we go. And I love doing this. I think just so beautiful. So you know how you can just massage them and manipulate them through, and you get that beautiful, big, gnarly, like belly. And they just look so divine. I feel like they look like they're something out of a Dutch Baroque or a Dutch Baroque, like, you know, like a painting or something. They are one of my favourites. Yes, there is one in there. It's called this little guy here, and he's called Love Me Just a Little Bit, which is so cute. Then we have the Princess Mako, your Princess Hitomi. And this, which is just absolutely beautiful. It is I don't know if it's a new breed, but everyone over here is getting very excited about it. It's called Charity. It's like a little blush, and it has that little divine like center in it, where he sort of looks like he's like a little bit rough, which I think is a fantastic contrast. So I love, as well as I suppose introducing texture through greenery, like introducing texture through like the floral variety as well. So as I said before, I do the things like the weaving. I will collect bark and put knots. Oh God, my little belly's squishing out there. Nothing's going to go low down there. So we're going to leave that. That's part of the design. That's going to be a little bit empty down there. Yes. So I'm losing petals there, but because you are all florists, you do understand that we are working with flowers and they are natural, and unfortunately we do not make them. We are not fairies, no matter how much we want to be. They're a natural product, and you always have things like that are going to happen with a natural product, especially when you have roses. I have opened these up to the full extent to get that beautiful English garden look, which then lends them to sort of bend inside out. And under this light up here, like I'm not that unfit, under this light up here it's a little bit hot. So the flowers are sort of, they're being a little bit dramatic. I think they need a little nest, and they need to like flop out in it as you do. Here we go. Can you tell I don't like being silent? I get that awkward. Do you know where some people can just be quiet and be happy with it, whereas if I'm quiet, then I sort of feel awkward. I need some music or something. They could play some circus music. Circus music? Or should we go something a little grander? Do you know? No. So I need to. I can't see the design, can I? Am I allowed to go off the stage, or do I have to stay like up there? Is that? Do people come off the stage? Okay, I'm going off the stage. What do you think? It's beautiful. Do I know you? No, say that again.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. Do you like it? Thank you. So I feel like it could be complete. The lady's a little bit on a lean. She looks like I feel. Do you know? She's leaning into it. But yes, I think that is because it is just a mannequin body and it has just one stick, do you know? And usually we would use something with legs, but because it was like all done distance-wise. And she wasn't on a lead when we built her, but then we put her on a trolley. And then we pushed her down the hallway and around the corner and then took her off and put her on the stage. And then she's like, that's enough. I'm not coming back. But oh, yes. Oh, that's it. It's like she's sort of being dramatic. Whatever. Yes, that's it. So I might pop like up the top. I feel like it's a little bit flat up there. Like I just need a few more roses to give it a little bit more texture. Would you like to say something, Glenn? Come close to me, dear. Look, whisper in my...
Oh, thank you, Julie Rose, for such a marvelous presentation and showing these beautiful garden roses from Alexander Farm. We invite all of you to become members of World Flower Council and know more wonderful designers like Julia Rose.
Oh. Do people do that too? Like go and hug this one, let them speak into their microphone? Would you like to say something? Yeah, go, just say something to me, just so we can use the microphone.
Had a great experience. It was
Ooh.
wonderful.
Oh! I'm just going to get around and get everyone's face. Well, that's it. I feel like I'll just pop a few flowers up the top and we're completely done, unless you would like me to. Well,
Does anyone have any questions for Julie about her processes or anything like that?
yes.
How do you attach it to the head, the oasis part?
So this one, if it was a real person, yes. So if it was a real person, I would, depending on where the piece, here, we'll go through the slideshows. So this one up here, there's a piece of oasis up the top, and then there was chicken wire around the back. So that was sort of sat, like with the chicken wire acted as a sort of shrug, in a sense. Yeah, so, and then she had like a band that went down. So I used the hair a lot, like to disguise the pieces. So there was one of our girls who did the session, she did a big piece, yes. And so we pull all the hair forward, we put the band on underneath, and then we put the hair back up over the band.
Pin it in place?
Yes, yeah, and pin it in place. Like, so these are smaller ones. You have like your little shrugs, your little side pieces. I usually do something. Your shoulder pads. Nothing's going where. Oh, there we go. So that's like a couple of large pieces, obviously. That's sort of drag queen that I did. So with those pieces, they're sort of like little helmets as such. Do you know, we like make like a little helmet, and then we put the oasis on that, and then we put the chicken wire on top of that. For like your big, large pieces, like those sort of pieces, you've seen how I make the shoulder pads. It's just the same as that, but more extended. Yes, so the big, large pieces like that, like the back pieces, obviously, like sit like much easier. So every piece has like a different structure that we use. It depends on like the movement, and like we've got the mohawk, that's all made from my feathers. You know, we had the band going around the head, and then we had the mohawk. Like Rod, he sits there, he plays guitar, so he'll be playing guitar and I'll be fitting him like with headpieces that I'm making. We did there was the big huge shoulder pads. So how you've got these, there's the Mad Max shoulder pads, but something like that I completely line with like satin or silk. So that piece went on television to an awards called the Logies in Australia, which is like what do you guys have over here? Like one of the, what is the, yeah, like the Oscars in Australia. So it was worn there. So it had to be a completely silk line or satin lined piece. So we were sitting there all night, like wiring, using all the frame, completely zip tying everything on, putting all the water vials in, covering all our base. And then on the back, obviously, you have all that really heavy mechanics with all your water. So we put like a satin lining. So we put a cardboard base over top, so then your water vials don't like fall and flop, and your stems are not all heavy and you can't feel them through. So we put a cardboard on top, and then we put a satin lining, and then we just hand stitch it like with, I use like a fine wire, like a material, like a, and just stitch it like you would like a gown. That's one in Japan. See, that was the one in Japan, but yes. Yeah, so you can see I do just the leaves and things like that. They had the Floral Rockstar competition in Australia where they had, we had 2,500 florists, and they all sent in photos in this competition to win. And then we had 500,000 hits like on social media, and the prize was they got to spend the day with me. I know, how weird is that? No, but they got to spend the day with me, and we built that big piece, but yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Julie, thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Absolutely.
I think that this was an absolutely fantastic program, just to end off just a really fantastic weekend. On behalf of the Great Lakes Floral
Association,
Association,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing with us. Appreciate it.